How did you find me here waiting for you? Across the multiverse we collide. It's extraterrestrial, our love. Across the multiverse, you and I.
Back on Wrestling Network. Welcome back to We Watch Comics Journey Through the Arrowverse. I am your host, Keithie Langston, and we are back to watching and reviewing the Arrowverse. Of course, the show Arrow on the CW. And I want to bring in my co-host, my better half, my, as I called him before, the Batman to my Robin, of course, the one and only, Mr. Logan Crosland. How are you, Logjam?
Would Christopher Walken call this show Arrow?
Here we go. This is Arrow. Yeah, but, and then he would go, it's the CW show.
He would do his creepy whispering voice.
About the guy in the hood named Arrow. Yes.
Yeah. But we did take a little break last time. We talked some Daredevil, but yeah, we are back with our dear Arrow. So
yeah, what do we call the show? The Arrow?
Arrow, row your boat.
Arrow
to the future is what
Arrow to the future. Yeah, Arrow to the future. So. Yes. So this episode, which is episode number 10, we're going to be watching episodes number 14 and 15. This first episode, number 14, is called the Odyssey, or as Christopher Walken would call it, the Odyssey. And now this premiered on February 13th, 2013. This is mostly a flashback episode, Logan. So it's kind of interesting, but it does open up where the Hood crashes into Moira's office and he orders her to tell him about Walter's disappearance. She begs him to spare her life, showing him pictures of both Oliver and Thea. Oliver then lowers his guard and she calls for help after pulling out a gun and shooting him. She does hit him, and although he escapes, he leaves blood in her office. Then the next scene we do come to is Felicity is walking out to a car, and she finds Oliver in his Hood outfit waiting for her in the back seat. So I guess we can run the counter back to 0 for how many episodes we had. We had a pretty good run there. We had from like episode 2 through.
Well, I don't think Diggle finds out till like episode 4, so I think it's like, yeah.
But then he also lets Valerie Bertinelli know. So I think we're only back. I think we only had like 7 episodes in between when the last person. So the counter went to 7 back to 0. So anyway, it doesn't matter. We're back to 0 again. Felicity being the third person to find out about Oliver's alter ego here, which is kind of nice. Anyway, he then pulls back his hood, revealing his identity to her, asking him to take him to his hideout since he can't go to the hospital. She agrees to take him there, remarking that this revelation clears up a lot of things. She also says, I guess blood is not going to be covered into my lease, which I thought was kind of funny. I like that she always gets those like little quips in. It's kind of cute. She agrees to take him there. All right, so she walks into the hideout stained with blood. Diggle pulls out a gun and she asks Diggle to help bring Oliver down since he's too heavy. She subsequently helps Diggle save Oliver as they work on the gunshot wound. The flashbacks begin. Now, really, before we go to the flashbacks, I do want to point out that it was kind of funny. At one point, Oliver's heart stops, and they go and they have to charge his heart again. And it's kind of funny because they're like, oh, you know what? That doesn't happen until later. So, right, that's not right at the first time. That's the second time. So I'll save that for the next one. Okay, so we get to the flashbacks where Slade is training Oliver in hand-to-hand combat. Oliver is struggling to master the techniques. Later, Slade shows him a map of the island, and he explains that there's a supply chain. There's a supply plane every 3 months, and they have to act soon to make it off the island via the plane. The airstrip
It's actually a really good impression.
Thank you. The airstrip is heavily guarded, but the biggest issue is the guard tower with the bulletproof glass. My sniper rifle won't be able to take out the bulletproof glass, and then they're going to notify fires. That's exactly what he says, verbatim. So Slade tells him it's going to be all of his job to take out the sniper. He goes, "Don't worry, you take care of your 1, I'll take care of my 10." That was like a great line. The next day, as they set out to the airstrip in the woods, Oliver steps on an old landmine left over from the Japanese. Just as they're discussing whether Slade can disarm it, several soldiers head towards them. Slade leaves them, and Oliver pretends to be one of the soldiers by putting his mask on. He makes a comment. He goes, I guess I'm having a really bad day. And then Slade comes back, takes out the soldiers with his machete. And then what he does is he rolls one of the soldiers on top of Oliver so that they can escape, or he rolls it on top of the landmine so he and Oliver can escape. Elsewhere on the island, Edward Fires has Yao Fei come in and asks him to help him with some new arrivals in archery, saying that the supply chain is going to be bringing some of those compound bows. While they're waiting now to go to the next morning, then they're making their way to the tower that night. Oliver tells Slade about Laurel and his infidelity, about sleeping with his sister. Slade then confides that the man who tortured him used to be his partner and his friend. His name is Billy Wintergreen, which is like a fucking awesome name. It is a true name in the DC comics. And actually, William Wintergreen was kind of like, he was Slade Wilson's butler. He was kind of like, they called him like, they refer to him as like the evil Alfred kind of.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was like, yeah. And actually he does die. He's not betrayed by, neither one of them betrays each other, but he does die at the hands of Slade in the comic book. So, but he says basically that Billy Wintergreen is the godfather of his son. And when Edward took Slade and Billy hostage, Billy betrayed Slade and joined Edward's camp. Oliver and Slade then arrive at the airstrip. So we'll stop right there. What are your thoughts on the beginning here? Obviously, the shooting and then the reveal with Felicity. And then we go right down to the flashbacks of them doing the hand-to-hand combat. And then also the whole scenario there with the landmines, and then the kind of the two confessions they have about Laurel and then Billy Wintergreen.
Yeah. Obviously we left off last time on, Oliver breaking into Moira's office through the window. We didn't see what happened. Obviously we pick up here to kind of start the episode. So we knew that was kind of how we were going to start here. Obviously it didn't go as he planned. And he ends up getting shot. Luckily it didn't hit anything important to where he would have died from it or anything like that. And we'll see how it kind of, obviously the big blood stain, obviously we'll see how we kind of get out of that one eventually. But yeah, this kind of proves that they're going to take Felicity seriously. They're going to use her pretty well going forward throughout at least the season, it seems. If you're just watching this for the first time, this kind of establishes her as like, oh, she's going to hang around because she's going to be part of the team, seemingly for at least the rest of the season. I think we've kind of maybe learned that a little bit later as well. But obviously it's taken her super seriously as a character, despite the fact that she was never really meant to be that. I don't think so. But yeah, Slade's trying to get Oliver to learn to kind of fight for himself. It's not going too well, obviously. But Oliver's trying. That's just not something he ever had to do back in Starling City. So he's just doing his damn best at this point. But I do think it was a very interesting way how they got out of the landmine. Obviously, they felt pretty screwed at that point.
Yeah.
And obviously they find a way to get away from it. So that was interesting. I don't know if Fires and Yao Fei's conversation talks about why Yao Fei kind of turned bad, quote unquote. I don't know if that happened in that flashback or not, but he implies at some point that there's a person that Yao Fei is doing this for. So we'll continue to learn about that the rest of the episode as well. But yeah, we learned who the other quote unquote Deathstroke person is because he has the Deathstroke mask, obviously. So That was interesting to learn that they were buddies and were in the like Australian Secret Service or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting for sure. So yeah, I saw a couple of scenes to kind of really establish Slade and Oliver's relationship and kind of who we're up against.
Yeah, and that he does kind of, and I mean when he leaves, because he goes, and Slade says to him, he goes, they won't see me, but they'll see you. When he runs away from like Oliver, and you kind of think that he's abandoning Oliver there with the soldiers see him, but then he immediately comes back, and as I said, he hacks him away with a machete, which was kind of cool. So yeah, it was kind of neat that like he saves Oliver's life that way. I do want to point out that when Diggle assesses Oliver's injury after Felicity brings him into the hideout, he states it's a zone 2 wound. In emergency medicine, this identifies a penetrating neck wound between the collarbone and the angle of the jawbone. So that was just a little bit of trivia right there. So,
there you go.
And I said trivia, so I did.
You did. But, you were good. I think you held off the R.
No, I think I said that anyway. But back in the present day, Diggle
trying to give you credit.
Thank you. I appreciate it, but I'll call myself on my bullshit when it happens. Back in present day, Diggle stitches up Oliver. He seems to think that Oliver would be okay, and a surprise Felicity isn't more shocked about the situation she found herself in. Felicity tells him that while she didn't necessarily know that Oliver was the Hood, she knew that he had some kind of secret because of his horrible cover stories when requesting favors from her, such as the bullet-ridden Apple iPad and the energy drink syringe, and then what was the other thing that she said that was really bad? I can't remember the other thing that he told her, which was terrible, but she points out she says that they didn't make any sense, and she mentions the syringe energy drink from Vertigo, and Diggle tells her that the substance that was in there was the Vertigo, and that she was instrumental in helping take down the Count, and they couldn't have done it without her. So that was kind of interesting. So he basically at that point says, you're an honorary member of this team anyway. So that was kind of nice. We go back to the flashback here as Slade takes out the guards with the silent rifle and his sword. They call it a sword. It's actually a sword machete, whatever you call it. Oliver makes his way to the tower as slow as shit, I might add. Like it is painful how slow he's moving to do one thing. It's like it took him forever. He gets into the tower. The guard does see him, so Oliver basically screws up his one job to do, which Slade makes a point of saying later on.
You had one job and you failed.
You had one job and you failed. However, the guard does pull a gun, and Oliver has him at gunpoint. We go to the present day. Oliver begins to take a turn for the worse. This is what I was saying earlier. First, he has a seizure. And Diggle's like, get the Ativan. And I think he said Ativan. He's like, get the Ativan in the case. I love that they have like a full med kit in this in the quiver here. But he seizes and then his heart stops. Thankfully, they do have a defibrillator on hand. And Diggle tries to shock him back to life, but they realize that the defibrillator is not working. And Felicity figures out there's a problem with the wiring, which she fixes it. They shock him and Oliver's heart starts beating. Felicity then explains that she's been working with computers since she was 7, and wires were wires. When that happened, every med tech in America just went, and did like a big face palm, like just slapping themselves in the head, because it's like, first of all, that's not how defibrillators work. And second of all, it's such a trope of having it in like television that have the defibrillator. And then her to simply say wires are wires. I mean, I love Felicity and I'm going to give her a pass on this, but my God. Anywho, we go back to the island, and Slade shows up at the last minute to save Oliver before the guard can make the phone call. Oliver is then told that his job is to stay in the tower and not let anybody inside unless it's Slade. And,
your job is to stay the fuck out of my way. That's basically what he said.
Just stay in here and don't fuck anything up. After Slade leaves, however, Oliver picks up the phone and calls Laurel. He places a long distance.
What a rube.
Yeah. What a maroon. He hears her voice a few times, but he cannot say anything. Just then Slade appears and smashes the phone in case it is being monitored. And he says, "What are you, crazy? They're monitoring all over the place." The plane's captain then radios the tower with a bit of a riddle that Oliver is able to figure out. And it's a riddle, of course, from the book The Odyssey, which we had seen earlier in Fire's tent. And I believe hold on, I want to just find it because it's actually kind of cool. So he says this. There is a quote that is used from the book The Odyssey, and Oliver said it's the only thing I've ever. He's like, it's the only book I ever read. And hold on, let me just find it real quick. Shit, it's not on here. Anyway, it was basically like a question and answer, and he gives the answer to Slade and then stops him right before it, and he says, wait. He goes, it's not that. It's actually them, or whatever it is. Or it was instead of being who or birthed, it was like who was bred on this island or something like that. So he tells him the correct answer to the riddle. They give the riddle, and the plane is like, okay, cool, we'll see you in like 20 minutes, or we'll see you in 3 hours, is what he says. So they figured that out there. And let me see. So just then, Oliver is able to figure it out. The answer, Slade tells Oliver he'll be ordering an airstrike on the island once they're gone. And Oliver said he's tired of thinking of only himself and refuses to let Yao Fei die. Slade then tells him he's got 3 hours to return or he's leaving without him. We come back to the present, and Felicity asks why Diggle helps Oliver, because she thinks that he's the kind of man that would have a problem with Oliver killing people. John tells Felicity about having to protect a drug and child trafficking warlord when he was in the military. In an ensuing firefight with the insurgents, he ended up killing a teenager. After that event, John struggled with whether or not he was a good man. Working with Oliver makes him feel like a good man again. I feel like there's a lot of stories in works of fiction after like Afghanistan where there's a lot of this like American soldiers who had to do like horrific things on the other side. Now, granted, I didn't serve. I really didn't even have friends that served, really. So I don't know how true all of these are. I'm sure that there were horrific things that had to be done under orders because it was war, and war's hell and everything like that. But it is interesting how you hear all these stories in works of fiction after the fact. And it really sounds like war is the worst thing imaginable. Because I'm even going back to thinking about like people who were in Vietnam and had like in like fiction, works of fiction, and they talk about the things that were done then. And then you find out like the real horrors that have happened during war. It's just, I like that that people continue to do these things in film and in movies and television, because it just proves just how awful war is and how it really should never be fantasized or glorified or anything like that. It really needs to be, everything is like a horror show over there. And I kind of like that they do this. And John coming to that realization that he had to struggle with whether or not he was a human and a good man because of what he did over in Afghanistan. But now that he works with Oliver, it makes him feel like a good person. And I'll get off my soapbox now on that. But back on the island, Oliver finds Yao in a tent and tells him that they have a way off the island. Yao saying he won't leave, saying that the reason is a who. And this might be where I think we find out why he's working for Fires, I feel like. Edward walks in and Yao knocks Oliver out. And then Slade proceeds to tell the plane that it's clear to land. So we'll stop right there for a minute, give you some time to give some of your feedback on Felicity's discussions with Diggle, and of course the flashback sequences that we have here.
Yeah, so the quote, I don't remember exactly what the question was, but the full quote is, of all creatures that breathe and move upon the earth, nothing is bred that is weaker than man.
Yes.
So that is, I believe it. I believe they say of all creatures that move and breathe on the earth, and then the other thing.
The answer is nothing is
bred that is weaker than.
Thank you for getting that. I appreciate that. I knew that as I was struggling to talk there, you were looking
I almost cut you off, but
you were looking it up, and you were like, "This asshole doesn't know what he's saying." But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So
I could have somewhat cobbled that together and maybe come up with it myself, but I figured I would. Trust the Google there for a second. And
I was going to say good. I thought you were going to say I was going to interfere, but then I wanted to see you drown.
No, never. Because I would hope you would do the same for me. So
yes, absolutely.
But yeah, going back to the first scene that you talked about, or just kind of the general scenes of Diggle and Felicity talking with each other. they're starting to kind of build that relationship as well. So obviously being the two kind of quote unquote sidekicks for Oliver as the Hood at this point is pretty cool. Obviously Felicity points out that she didn't buy his stories whatsoever throughout the times that he was coming to her with different things, and knew that something else was going on. So, but Diggle obviously makes her feel important, talking about how instrumental she was in helping take down the Count and all that kind of stuff. So, Oliver is a big old loser, big old rube in this situation. He fails at the only job that he was given. And yeah, like you were talking about the wires or wires kind of situation, I could see that being very frustrating for somebody in the medical field, because I had a feeling that was probably not as simple as they made it seem. But Felicity is supposed to be like a genius in this show, so maybe she's just way ahead of the rest of us. But yeah, Slade does save Oliver from being kind of called out and maybe even killed in that situation. So that was cool. Obviously, he calls Laurel like an absolute jackass. Doesn't even say anything to her. She says hello, I think, a couple times. But obviously, Slade destroys the phone because he thinks it's being monitored. He has to come up with the Odyssey line. That's obviously, obviously that was a point we kind of called out. So, and then we kind of get Felicity trying to figure out why Diggle is kind of helping Oliver along with all of this, and like you said, kind of talks about his military training and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of those guys that go through a good bit of hell. So I think it's a pretty true to life kind of situation, especially in that war. I feel like a lot of it was. I mean, I'm not going to get on a political sphere, but I don't think a lot of that war was particularly necessary. I think that's kind of the part about it. I think people kind of realized that when they came back. I mean, obviously, it felt at the time we needed to do something because we obviously had the horrible events of September 11th, and all that kind of stuff.
No,
but
it
just went on too long. Was really the big problem with it. It just kept going and going and going, and unnecessary lives were lost throughout it. So. But then, Oliver finds Yafei because he wants to kind of have him go with them off of the island. But Yao obviously has reasons to stay where he is, because we'll learn in a minute those reasons. But obviously, he has a reason that he's with Fires, and we'll see where that kind of goes.
Excellent. Alrighty, so we're still on the island. Edward tries to figure out why Oliver would return. He also asks him whether or not he's like, oh, you just can't seem to die, can you? Oliver asks whether he'll be fighting Yao again, and is told that he's not in a fighting ring, but he's going to be executed. Billy starts beating up Oliver, who tells the masked man he knows who he used to be and taunts him. At this point, Slade arrives, causing a distraction through explosions, and subsequently gets into a fight with Billy. Slade kills his former friend, Billy Wintergreen, and but moments later is shot by Edward. And then I just lost where I place here. So it gets shot by Edward. Oliver helps it to escape just as the plane leaves. And it goes up. It's our ride out of here. I love that. As they're leaving the camp, they encounter one guard who Oliver disarms and knocks out using the technique Slade taught him, much to Slade's surprise. And I think he was excited about it. I think he seemed very proud of Oliver there. Back at Slade's hideout, they talk about their next step. Slade thinks Oliver has progressed, and now they might have a chance of surviving. Whereas earlier he said if they didn't catch their plane, they'd be dead by the next time the plane comes. Edward speaks with his boss over the phone and assures him that the complications won't be a problem. Yao walks up and is told that he has 5 minutes, and he sees that his daughter has been captured. His daughter is Shadow.
Shadow.
I don't know why it's Shadow. What the fuck is wrong with me?
I mean, I'm sure
no, it's Shadow. I'm an idiot.
I think we know it as Shadow, but I'm sure it's I'm sure we Americanize.
No, it's Shadow. I'm an idiot here. We see that his daughter had been captured. She is the reason why he's been loyal to Edward Fires. Yao Fei's daughter has a dragon tattoo on her back shoulder, an identical tattoo to which Oliver is seen at the end of the episode. So I guess we'll see what that connection has there. We go back to the present day. Oliver wakes up. After updating the computer systems in the Quiver, Felicity also hacks the police crime lab and orders all of Oliver's blood sample to be destroyed. Oops. Oliver asks her if that means that she wants to join the team, considering she's practically a member already. She tells him that she isn't going to join them per se, but she will stay long enough to help them find Walter because he was always kind to me, and that she'll help them to do that. She leaves Diggle, and Diggle said he's worried about being able to protect Felicity. On top of all that, Diggle said that he's still not sure what Moira is hiding or how much she's involved with that book of the names. Oliver, who was still in denial that his own mother was involved in the disappearance of Walter, as well as the book of names and the sabotage of his father's yacht, makes it very clear that his mother is off limits, at least until they can learn more, setting her plea to spare her life for the sake of her children. And Oliver also makes a mention that nobody else had ever brought up their children when he was in front of them. So Oliver then returns home and is informed by Detective Lance and his family that his mother was attacked by the Hood. After Quentin leaves, Oliver embraces Moira and assures her that the Hood will never come after her again. And that kind of wraps it up there. Final thoughts on this episode, and then maybe we'll go a little bit to some trivia.
Yeah, I thought the scene where Slade saved Oliver was pretty awesome. Obviously, him and old Billy get after it, and then Slade just fucking stabs him in the fucking eye. Right in the fucking eye. So that was pretty awesome. And then, yeah, Slade's impressed by, the fact that Oliver disarms the guard with the gun and all that kind of stuff. So Slade thinks that old Oliver can hang in there for a little bit. Obviously, I think they said the plane only comes like every 2 months or something to that effect. So, but he thinks that they can survive at this point. I think he thinks they have enough food, and obviously maybe the skills to fight off this army of sorts that's on this island with fires. I'm interested to learn more about who Fire's boss is. I would be interested. I'm interested to kind of see where that goes.
Yeah, I was trying to see if it sounded like it was Malcolm Merlin, and it didn't really sound like him. So
didn't sound like him on the phone.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's not Malcolm.
It could be somebody in that general sphere of shitheads, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, we meet Shadow for the first time. We see the dragon tattoo on her back, and obviously we see Oliver's at the end, or towards the end at least. And then Felicity kind of quasi becomes part of the team, but not really. She says she'll be there till they find Walter, obviously. She comes in clutch with the blood sample getting destroyed. Then Oliver's quick to protect his mother and say that she's not a suspect at this point, and we're not going to go after her until we know more about the old undertaking and all the stuff that's going to go on with that. So she is off limits. He felt like he kind of went too far in the first place. And then obviously we have the kind of family moment in the house to kind of end the episode. So I thought the big fight scene was awesome. And obviously we couldn't just kind of get some more connection of our Arrow team that we seem to be forming.
Excellent. So just a couple of other little bits of trivia here. We do have that. Hold on. So Oliver mentions that he kind of laughs and chuckles that his best friend on the island is a guy named Slade Wilson. And he made a joke about the movie Castaway because Chuck Noland, or Tom Hanks's character on there, his volleyball's name was Wilson. So that was kind of funny. And as I said, Felicity, we find out Felicity realizing who he is. She's the third person. Obviously it goes in order. It was first it was Diggle, then it was Helena, and now it's Felicity. So we have that. And I had already mentioned about the connection of the actual real universe for William Wintergreen. So with that, we're going to I guess I'm going to roll it over to you to talk about the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But we kind of talked about it in throughout the episode, but this is kind of the first episode of the show to kind of focus on a flashback storyline more than a kind of modern day kind of situation. So that was just one more little trivia note that I had pulled up. So we will go to episode number 15 from here. It is called Dodger, as I am dodged out of my chair on StreamYard right now. So, but yeah, it is episode 15. It came out on February the 20th, 2013. We opened the episode with a museum guard named Jerry. He appears to be helping a man steal the Sherwood Ruby because he was forced to. He has some kind of collar around his neck that is it's a bomb. It is a high-profile criminal called the Dodger. He has placed an explosive device around the man's neck, and after he retrieves the jewel, he takes the bomb off the guy's neck, but then he obviously kind of zaps him unconscious with this little electric baton that he has that he subdues the guy with. We then go to Felicity. She is concerned by how Oliver takes down criminals and finds that the culprit, Ken Williams, is a widowed father with a 10-year-old son. She overrides the security lock to go out of the Arrow Cave, but when he still refuses to listen to her, she tells him that the idea of her helping him was a mistake, and she decides to quit. We then have a flashback to the island, and Oliver is bringing water to Slade, whose bullet wound has now become infected. Oliver remembers some herbs that Yao Fei had in his cave that seemed to heal anything and everything that ails you. And he leaves to get them. We then have Moira meet with Frank Chen, an old friend. She tells him that she wants to get out of the undertaking because it's cost her too much. Walter's kidnapping, Robert's death, and her near death as well. The two of them had begun the undertaking to fix the city, but have seen that their goal is starting to crumble. He agrees to help her leave the organization and organizes a meeting with Malcolm. So I will stop there. What did you kind of think of these few scenes to kind of open things up?
It's funny. The name of the ruby is the Sherwood Ruby. Mm-hmm. I guess that's a little tongue in cheek there because of what happens at the very, very end. Mm-hmm. We'll leave that to that. I mean, that was kind of an interesting criminal element at this point, which is kind of interesting and new. I don't know if the Dodger's actually like from like the DC universe. I'm assuming he is. He almost sounds kind of like he would be like a prankster, like a person that would have dealt with like the Flash, you know what I mean? But maybe not, because
his name is Winnick Norton, if that makes it any easier for maybe you to remember.
Winnick Norton. No, he's not that. I mean, it says he is in New Earth, so I don't know. We'd have to ask Tim. Tim would have to give us a little bit of breakdown on that. But I would think that he's actually, I think he's like a hero in this, but no. So I don't know. I had never come across him in my journey through DC Comics. So, but I wasn't always a DC fan. I kind of got into Arrow after the show, Green Arrow and Flash after the shows came out. I'd always been a Batman. He's not a Batman villain, I know that much. But anyway, no, I kind of like his little deal though, where I like how they call him the Dodger because he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. And I kind of like that. So that was kind of cool. I like the Felicity kind of gives him some shit about going after a widowed father with a 10-year-old son. Like, she's like, you got to look at the whole picture here, Oliver. And I kind of like that. And then she immediately locks the cave. I kind of was like, that's pretty funny. And then he comes over and he's like, I'm not the only one that knows how to reboot my system. And then he just like reboots the system and leaves. But that was pretty good. And then obviously, when the flashback here where Oliver says, I can fix this, I can go. I did like that when he pulled off the bandage, it definitely looked gross. Like, the thing I like too is when he's pulling the friggin' bullet out and he goes, I thought you were gonna puke. And Oliver just goes, I swallowed it. And I thought it was pretty funny. So yeah, that was pretty good. But and then Frank Chen, the guy that plays Frank Chen, also was in Batman or The Dark Knight. He's like so just kind of a unrelated character. He's not. I don't believe his name is Frank Chen in the Dark Knight movie, but it's not. It's not. I think it's Yao. I think actually his name's Yao. I think, which is kind of funny. But yeah, just kind of funny that like just that kind of just crossover of DC, DCEU stuff. But yeah, no, pretty good stuff. Pretty for a good couple of things here. Moira realizing that she's in way over her head here and trying to get out. So I kind of like that.
Yeah. Just some quick research on the Dodger. He's never really like the villain, the head villain of any situation, but he does appear in some comics, but it's mostly just Green Arrow and Black Canary kind of stuff. So
okay, all right. So
he seems to be kind of a Arrow specific villain.
I kind of thought just from his character in the show, I was like, if he's anything, he's kind of just like a rogue of the week kind of thing, almost like a rogue episode, He's not on the level of Joker, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it describes him as not a proper villain, so you can tell that maybe a British person wrote that down.
Yeah, he's a guy that gets arrested every issue. Yeah,
yeah, he's more of a thief that just kind of gets involved. But we go from there. We have Oliver and Diggle wait in Felicity's office to kind of catch her. He tries to put Felicity at ease about his vigilante actions by telling her that the man she was worried about is still alive, and he gave back the money that he stole. A news report talks about a criminal named the Dodger who steals by forcing hostages to wear explosive collars and do the dirty work for him. So he obviously doesn't have to have his fingerprints or anything like that on anything. Felicity makes an offhand kind of mentions that it's too bad that the guy isn't in Oliver's book. Seeing an opportunity to get Felicity to work with him again, he kind of mentions that they do go a little rogue from the book sometimes and go after normal criminals as well. We then go back. That gets her back on the team, and Oliver kind of asks her to help them take the Dodger down in this situation. The Dodger then meets Cass Derenick to sell the stolen ruby. The man attempts to rob the Dodger and not pay him for the job that he did, and has three of his men put their gun in the Dodger's face. The Dodger then tasers all three of them down and then shoots Derenick in the head. We then have Oliver, Diggle, and Felicity at the Big Belly Burger, the big meeting of the minds place that they always go to. They talk about how to approach the Dodger. Felicity interjects and asks about Diggle and Carly's relationship, as he can tell that they seem to have some kind of connection with each other. Oliver explains the relationship, obviously, that she was married to her brother previously, and agrees with Felicity as saying that Diggle should ask her out. This leads Diggle to agreeing to ask Carly on a date only if Oliver asks out McKenna Hall, who he met in a previous episode as well. Felicity then suggests that they should also bug McKenna's phone in order to find out what the police know about the Dodger. Diggle awkwardly asks Carly out and agrees to dinner later that night. Oliver then visits the precinct and plants the bug in McKenna's cell phone when she kind of steps away from her desk. And then he also awkwardly kind of asks her out on a date, and they set it for that night as well. So what did you think of these kind of scenes back to back to back?
I like it. I think that obviously it's a pretty kick-ass scene where Dodger beats and kills basically all of Cass's people here. I think that was kind of fun. Cass having a little bit of having the balls, especially if you knew anything about the Dodger, to like flick away his friggin' account information. I thought that was kind of interesting. He's like, oh, maybe if I remember it, and then he kind of like throws it away. It's like, dude, this guy puts friggin' bombs on people's necks. Like, don't you know that? But anyway, whatever the case is. Yeah, I kind of like that scene though. And then the Dodger, I mean, he kind of makes the Dodger like, he looks kind of like a badass, tasing all three of the gods and then shooting Derek in the head. I mean, that was kind of pretty big badass, you know? Obviously at the Triple B restaurant, once again, this is like the only place that, as you said, the meeting of the minds takes is, of course, it should take place here. I do like the Felicity. First of all, how is Felicity like? I think we open with Oliver's training, and Felicity's like looking at him, and she's already got the fuck me eyes, and it's like she's then saying, she's like, yeah, why don't you go and ask McKenna out? Like, yeah, go ahead, go to the most gorgeous human being on the planet, Shiva Kamini, and go and date her, right? Yeah, do that, Oliver. Are you fucking serious? Like, there's no way she would have done that. She would have been like, no, Oliver, I don't think that girl's. I think you're way out of her league. I think you should be dating somebody that's blonde, a genius, and has saved your life a couple times. That sounds pretty obvious here. But yeah, I do like that. I do like that. I feel like Diggle and Carly, I know that they didn't really have any flirting. I feel like, I don't even feel like there was any flirting beforehand. I guess people are going to, people could say they were flirting, but not really. I mean, he always came in and he was always like, hey, sister-in-law, like that kind of thing. But yeah, that was kind of neat that they were like, you should go ask her out. And I kind of like that Ollie's like, you ask her out. I'll ask her out when you ask her out. And that was kind of cool. So I did like that.
It's like such a high school thing. Like, oh yeah, if you text the girl you like, I'll text the girl I like, and all that good stuff.
Did you guys ever have in high school those things that you would make out of paper that you would go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you would have to like flip up I forget what those stupid things were called. Do you remember?
I can't remember what they're called, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes,
we did that.
That's exactly like we did those in high school, and well, we did them in like junior high and in high school too. We were fucking stupid, but like all kids. But yeah, I mean, any chance I can to see. Goddamn, I do love friggin' McKenna. I love that actress. She's so fucking hot. I mean, she's so hot. She doesn't even belong on this plane of existence. That's how friggin' hot Janina Gavankar is. So yeah, bring her back all the time. But I know she's not on this all the time, so that sucks. But I said my piece.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
But from there we go to Laurel and Thea. They're walking around the glades when Thea gets mugged. All of a sudden, the guy escapes over the fence with Thea's purse, but his piece of his wallet chain gets snagged on a fence. So automatically we're dealing with a huge douchebag who has a wallet chain. So
yes.
This leads to Thea trying to track down stores that might have that the thief might have bought the wallet from. We then get a nervous Oliver tells her he has a date after he leaves. Thea gets a possible suspect and calls Laurel with his name, Roy Harper.
Dun, dun, dun.
So obviously Roy Harper will be a pretty important character going forward, but we'll probably talk about him a little more in depth at a later point when he kind of becomes a more important character, I'll say.
Yep.
But then we have a flashback to the island, and Oliver is grabbing the herbs. He turns around to leave, but he finds a badly beaten man stumble into the cave, and the guy sputters, "Help me!" And he looks like he's been beaten to all hell.
Mm-hmm.
We then go back to Oliver and John. They listen to a conversation in which McKenna talks about the man the Dodger had murdered, and then Felicity finds out online that he was probably a potential fence. And then we go to John and Carly's date. He accidentally brings up his brother, and she wonders if perhaps the whole thing is just too complicated for them to, take this relationship any further. Oliver's date is then going well until McKenna kind of starts to ask questions about the island. Obviously, we've seen in the past that Oliver's not quite comfortable talking about the bad things that happened to him on the island, which is most things that happen to him on the island.
I know.
He kind of has a small flashback and becomes more and more withdrawn from the date. She then points out that those years must have changed him, and he agrees, but he still kind of doesn't want to talk about it. McKenna kind of seems to understand that this is making him uncomfortable, which makes her uncomfortable. She's then called on the phone away from dinner for some work matters, and then Oliver calls Felicity and has her activate the bug in McKenna's phone once again. We then go back in the flashback. The beaten man tells Oliver he's an exchange student named Alan Durand who got lost during a fishing trip with his class. He tells a suspicious Oliver that he was the only one who made it, and he was beaten by soldiers and left in this cave to seemingly die. So what did you think of these few scenes before we get on to more Dodger activity?
I mean, I think the dates are really funny. They're just well, actually, yeah, it's so silly, just the two dates, like, just so bad. I will say before that, meeting Roy Harper, that's obviously going to be huge, and we know, I mean, if you had known anything about this, you know that that's going to be a big deal, so that's kind of cool. Laurel and Thea talking about what's the name of their thing called? CRN.
CRNI, maybe.
Yes, yeah, CRI or whatever, yeah, which was kind of neat. And then obviously that, yeah, I agree with you completely. Anybody with a chain on their wallet deserves to go to jail for the rest of their lives. It's such a douche thing, but that's okay. If you have a chain on your wallet, if you don't want to get rid of it now, get rid of it tomorrow. I mean, that's just the best thing I can say to you. So, your life will be so much better for it. Okay, thank you. And if this was Pete's show, he would go do do do. He'd put that in. But
the more you know,
the more you know. Yes. But this guy, this Alan Durand, I don't know about this guy. This guy
looks like the son of Neil deGrasse Tyson, by the way. Does he not? Am I wrong?
What, this guy's on a fishing trip in the fucking near China. This guy, he's not my kind of guy.
Yeah. I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying this at all. I'm not buying this, and hopefully Oliver doesn't buy it either. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this guy. But as Frank Costanza once said, this guy, he's not my kind of guy. You know what I mean? So we'll see though.
Yeah, I immediately didn't buy this guy's situation.
No.
And like you said, hopefully Oliver doesn't fall for it. But we go to the Dodger. He shows the jewel to Claire Abbott. McKenna and her team of police raid the building. The Dodger gets out of the building but runs into the Hood outside. Just as the Hood begins to chase him, he sets off an explosive collar that allows him to kind of escape in the smoke. Oliver then has Felicity search for the type of antiquity that the Dodger prefers, which turns out to be pieces from the ominous decade. There's a fundraising auction the following night for the Starling City Cancer Society. Oliver thinks they could use it to lure him out. He donates a brooch on behalf of the Queen family as bait, so we'll see how that works out for him. Quentin then questions Roy with Laurel and Thea watching through the one-way glass. Roy says his mother was hooked on vertigo and is no longer the same person that she used to be medically and kind of emotionally and physically. He's been stealing to try and pay off her medical bills, which they obviously can't afford. And then Thea thinks they should just let him go and disregards the value of her purse, which is obviously something that's very important to her. But she hears this story and feels bad for him, obviously. We then have Frank tell Moira that he's arranged a meeting for her with Malcolm, but both are worried about the possible consequences that could come from said meeting. We then have Felicity put a GPS device in the Queen's family brooch that they donated as bait. Felicity sees the brooch is on the move and catches the Dodger. She sees it in his pocket and stops to question him. He says he's going to take the brooch, and a few moments later, Felicity approaches Oliver and John with one of the explosive collars around her neck. The Dodger had told her that if she calls the police, it will go off, and she tries to keep Oliver and Diggle away, but John works on deactivating the device while Oliver leaves to find the Dodger with Felicity's help over the phone.
Yes.
Because obviously he's still carrying around the brooch that has the GPS device on it. So before we get to the big chase down and kind of fight scene, what did you think of those few scenes there?
I thought these were really good kind of like setups here for this big chase sequence at the end. I did like that. I thought that we get a lot with this new fence. For a minute there when they were talking about, for a minute when I first saw Claire Abbott, I thought it was McKenna like in like a disguise. Because and then I was like, oh, is this just a setup for this guy? But no, it wasn't. They just realized that they were able to find this new fence. And then I did like Oliver's like arrow shooting at the guy, and then the guy just being like real fucking smug, and then throwing the friggin' necklace at Oliver that donated, that like blew up on him. It was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, no, I like Felicity saying like, you realize if this guy walks out, he's leaving with the Queen family jewels. And then she was like, wait, that shouldn't have come out the way it was. Looking at Oliver like talking about his balls, I guess, which was kind of funny. But okay. Roy telling that little cover story, which was great because of what we see later on, so that's a good little, preying on Laurel and Thea's like, empathy and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. And then, yeah, I mean, getting ready for that, like Felicity going like, hey, you want to get that, you got to put a bid on it. And then like the next second you see her with the friggin' necklace on, the bomb on it. It's like, okay, I guess she should have kept her mouth shut, but all right. So yeah, everything that's leading up to this final climactic act 3, so to speak. So
absolutely. And we'll get into that kind of chase scene that we're talking about before. Oliver steals a motorcycle, speeds off with Felicity guiding him via traffic cameras. Oliver catches up to the Dodger's car and throws an explosive arrow that was stashed in his jacket into the rear tire, which forces the vehicle to flip. The Dodger gets out holding the remote for the device around Felicity's neck. He says if Oliver touches him, she will die. Oliver then quickly severs his median nerve with one of his little arrows. In this description, it calls it a flechet, I think is how it's pronounced. But as he draws his electric prod that he's been taking out people with, obviously the Dodger asks Oliver why he opposes him, claiming that they're both the same because they both steal from the rich to help the poor. And Oliver quickly relieves him of his weapon and stuns him with it and says, I'm no Robin Hood. And then back at the party, Felicity's bomb turns off and releases from around her neck as Oliver.
I'm just like you.
I'm no Robin Hood. But obviously, Felicity, her bomb turns off and it comes off of her neck. So we then go back to the flashback. The beaten man demands that Oliver untie him. Oliver agrees and has him turn around. He puts the knife to the rope, but then he withdraws for some reason. He then says he can't do it because he doesn't know who this man is, and it leaves him in the cave, maybe to die, or maybe to come, or for the soldiers to come back and beat him down even more. So, we then have John tell Carly he's having a tough time with dating, and she thinks perhaps he's thinking too much. He then says, I think you're right, and they make out for a little bit. We then have Thea pay Roy Harper a visit at his home in the Glades. He starts to judge her as he knows all about her background. She replies that she's simply there to retrieve her very expensive vintage purse. He returns it to her, and before she leaves, he gives her 2 pieces of advice. 1, stay away from the Glades, and 2, that she shouldn't fall for every sob story somebody like him tells the cops. So obviously, we don't know his entire story, but obviously he kind of implies here that he was maybe bullshitting to kind of get out of getting in any further trouble. Oliver then tells McKenna that she talked to him about the island, and it reminded him of hard decisions he had to make. He wonders if he's worthy of actually being with anyone. This, of course, leads to their making out and her telling him that you are worthy. Quentin interrupts and stops by her desk, wanting her to help him on the Hood investigation. So she's kind of added to the Hood team, is kind of what he says. And then go back to the flashback. Oliver returns to Slade, who asks him if he got into any trouble. Oliver obviously says no. And he kind of adds onto that and says not a bit of trouble happened. And then we end the episode where Moira is set up with a meeting with China White, and Moira asks China White to help her kill Malcolm Merlyn. So kind of a big plot point to end the episode. But what do you think of these final few scenes?
I thought they were great. You also did pronounce that word correctly as a flechet. So congratulations, you did pronounce that French word. Because I'm looking at him like, is it Flechetti? But I'm like, no, it's a Flechetti. You pronounced it correctly. So yeah,
Good for me.
Good for you. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize you were such a.
I didn't even take French.
You're proficient in French. How about that? Yeah, no, I mean it was good. I like the flashback sequence again. We're gonna learn more about this character, I believe. So we'll see that. I do like the kind of the first date redo where John and Carly have like a tough time, and then he kisses her. I thought that was kind of nice. It was nice to see. You know, hopefully, we like when Oliver gets a little action. I'm good with Diggle getting a little bit of action too. So I'm happy with that. Yeah. I loved Roy's story where he was basically like, "Listen, bitch, I'm gonna tell you here, but just don't believe anything I fucking tell you because I'm full of shit." I like that. I thought that was great. It's just he's gonna be such a good character coming forward, so that's good. I think we can wait probably like an episode or two before we start really diving into who Roy Harper actually is, unless you want to talk about it afterwards. But when you start doing like some trivia, it's up to you. But we get more and more obviously with him in the future. So, and then
when he gets to be a little bit more of a permanent cast member, I think we'll kind of dive more into him. But
yeah. And then I like the return of China White. I mean, damn, we got some hot ladies in this episode with China White. We got Kelly Hugh. We got, obviously, of course, we have Felicity Smoke Show. So, I mean, this is great. We got Katie Cassidy. We have Kelly Hugh. We have Janaya Gavankar. And then we have Emily Bett Rickards. I mean, this is just hot. I'll even throw a friggin' hot out there for friggin' Colton Haynes as Roy Harper. I mean, just unbelievable hotness in this whole friggin' episode. So congratulations. And then I love it. One of the things, this is uncredited, Tatiana Forrest as Pretty Girl. I don't remember her, but I'll throw it out for her too. She was a hottie as well. So yeah, a lot of hot chicks in this episode. So yeah, great episode overall, I think.
Yeah, good for Tatiana. Whoever you are.
Whoever you are, congratulations.
But yeah, this one actually doesn't have any trivia on it. So unless you have any that you kind of figured out.
No, I kind of looked to see if like there was anything more with like Cass Derenick. There really isn't. So I think I think the only thing that we could go into is we kind of talked about the Dodger. You looked up in that. And then the only thing we could talk about is Roy Harper, which I think we can wait on. So no, I think we should yeah, I think that's about it. Why are you doing this? I'm exactly like you. I only steal from the rich.
I'm no Robin Hood. I don't think we rated the first episode out of 10, so let's do both back to back real quick.
We didn't.
What did you think of episode 1? What would you rate that out of 10?
We kind of talked about it. I forget if we talked about it right on air or if we talked about it off air. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. So, I mean, can I go crazy and give it an 8.5, maybe not even 9 out of 10?
Yeah, I think I would honestly go 9. The flashback episodes are really awesome because it really gives you a detailed kind of story throughout that episode of what all he kind of went through and all the stuff he kind of did throughout those times. And we'll get more in the future, but I thought it was a good first kind of situation from it. So I would go 9.
All right, cool. So 9 out of 10. That's good.
All right. What would you go on the second one, the Dodger?
This one I thought was great too. I mean, I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5.
Yeah, I would probably go 8 on this one. It was obviously a little weaker than the previous one, but I thought the Dodger, maybe not the most imposing villain, but he was definitely crafty and maybe a little smarter than some of the meatheads that Oliver has to face up with in the past. So he's a little more cunning and obviously has different ways of manipulating things to work in his favor. So
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna. He was a good bad guy of the week. I think that it worked out. And then the only thing I would say that like knocks this down a little bit for me is the flashback sequences. There's not a ton, but then again, the previous episode was like an entire episode on flashback, so I was okay with it not having a ton of flashback stuff. And I did like the one thing I did like is that he looked like he was going to release the guy, and then he was like, I'm good. And then he didn't. And then he left him. That I kind of like. So, yeah. But no, I mean, I think he was the Dodger was a hell of a good villain for him this week. And, it's just kind of sad that like he's kind of getting rid of these villains right away. Like, I don't think we see this guy again, but that's okay. I mean, there's plenty of bad guys out there. So
I think we actually do see him one more time.
Okay.
There's an event at the end of this season that kind of we see multiple people that we've kind of dealt with already.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I do think we see him again at some point.
Okay.
But he is played by we didn't mention him earlier, but he's played by James Callis, who I can only assume is Don Callis's brother. So, but I just had to throw the little quip in.
That's good.
We'll go to some awards. Who would be your MVP for these two? Probably Oliver, if I had to guess. But
would you what?
I said probably Oliver if I had to guess, just because
you know what? No. Honestly, I want to say my MVP is going to be Slade Wilson. I think he takes the cake for what he does in the Odyssey. I mean, even from the get-go with him training Oliver at the beginning of the episode to, him fucking taking out all of the guys at the top, because he took out everybody at the guard tower. Even the one guy Oliver was supposed to take out, he ended up taking out. So yeah, I think, and then even just the fact that the way he kills friggin' Billy Wintergreen was just with the friggin' sword through the eye. I mean, it was great. So I'm gonna say my MVP here is definitely Slade Wilson.
Yeah, you could go. You could definitely go Slade. You could even go Felicity for the second episode. She was very impactful for, and even in the first episode, she. I think I actually will go with Felicity because she helps him get back to the Quiver, so he can get worked on medically by Diggle. And then she's pretty impactful on him kind of catching the Dodger. In the second episode. So I'll actually toss it to Felicity.
I would. A close second for me is Felicity.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have failed this city.
LVP is kind of challenging on this one because usually we go with like annoying Tommy or annoying Thea, and they weren't actively in these episodes. Tommy wasn't in them.
Tommy wasn't either. Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy wasn't in a period. Thea wasn't particularly in them that much either. So who would you go with? This is a tough one.
I'm gonna stick with my episode and go with Edward Fires. I think he was just kind of, especially because like when all the shit was hitting the fan at the final fight out there, he just fucking scurries away like a little bitch. So I'm gonna go with him. Like he doesn't even attempt to do anything, and he's just a bitch the whole time. Like he basically, I mean, I know he is like he's supposed to be just like this overarching villain or whatever, but like he just the way he's pulling the strings of the Alfei, and then obviously like we find out what he really did to separate Billy and Slade and all this. So I'm gonna go with Edward as the LVP just because he sucks.
I'm gonna go with Oliver and Diggle's Riz in the dating episode. So their Riz is at an all-time low.
Yes,
asking these two girls out. So not necessarily the characters themselves.
Okay, can I change my LVP to their Riz as well? I'm changing my LVP to their Riz. So their first date. Their first date is the LVP.
Yeah, they both first dates. The LVP for the episode for sure. But what was your best scene?
The two first dates.
Oh God, no.
Oh no. I mean, I want them to be so bad, but no. Honestly, I think my favorite scene, as much as I loved Odyssey, I think my favorite scene was the final like chase sequence where Oliver's on the motorcycle and he's chasing down the Dodger. I really liked that. I thought that, and then how he took out the car at the end, I thought that was really cool. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with that chase sequence at the end.
Yeah, that was one I had in mind for sure. But I'll go with Slade kind of taking down the camp. I think those are definitely the best two episodes.
Yeah.
Or best two episodes, best two scenes throughout both episodes. So if you went with that one, I'll go with the other. So
yeah.
I have to be someone else.
I have to be something else.
And then most important scene, you could go with something like that. You could go with Roy making his debut. Obviously, he'll be important in the future. Maybe Felicity even joining the team, seemingly. I'll probably go with that. I'll probably go with Felicity, kind of quasi joining the team. What would you go with for most important?
I would probably say that as well. I mean, I would like to maybe, just because it seems like we're not agreeing on everything altogether, but I would say, so I would go with Roy, but Felicity is kind of way more important than Roy. So I would say, like, even if you would have just say like that first scene where he's in the backseat of her car, and then she realizes who he is and everything like that. That's huge, because she is such a massive. Because not only, it's so funny, as I was watching, my brother came home and I went, dude, I go, you know what the coolest thing about Felicity is? And I go, is that she's not only massive for the Arrow, but she ends up being massive throughout the Arrowverse too. So it's like she's probably the best additional character that they've ever had in this entire universe. And my brother goes, I don't even know what the hell this show is. So it was like, great. But so I think I'm gonna go with Felicity joining the team ish.
Yeah, obviously. But yeah, I mean, she's incredible throughout the rest of this series, and even dabbling in the other series as well.
Yeah.
So definitely a couple of strong episodes. Obviously, like I said, we took a break last time, so getting back into this was fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad we got 2 good episodes. We're a little bit. I'll ask one more question before we get out of here. I probably should have done this in a previous episode. We're about halfway through the season, a little past halfway. How are you kind of feeling halfway through season 1, not episode 1, but season 1?
Oh, I think I'm excited. I mean, it again, it's one of these where, we've talked about this a lot, but like, it's so funny how we forget that like so much shit took place during like the first season. And it's like, you do kind of forget that. I feel like that, I was expecting, like we had talked about like the introduction of Roy and the introduction of Slade. And it's like, how fast he brings Diggle in and how fast like Felicity gets in. It's like, it is pretty fast. And I forget it because, this show ran for, what did it run for?
8 seasons?
Yeah. There's an awful lot. I know like the last couple of seasons, once they really start doing the crossovers, it kind of slows down everything in the show, I feel like. But no, I hate to be corny, but like I'm falling in love with the show all over again, because I watched the show being excited because it was a comics book related show, and I fell in love with the show from the beginning, from the pilot. And I was like, this is a fucking great show. And I religiously watched this show every week that it was on, every season, really up until it was the season when like Oliver had finally told everybody that he was the Green Arrow, and then he like got arrested. And the reason why I stopped watching it was because every episode he started talking like this. And I was like, I can't hear you. I'm like, I can't hear you, bro. And that was like when I kind of stopped. I forget when that is.
I think that's going into season 7. So
yeah. So I was like, but yeah, I tried to, and I watched, and of course, like I watched Flash. I loved Flash. I still love Legends of Tomorrow. That might be my favorite show altogether, is Legends of Tomorrow. I love that show. But I'm still thrilled. How are you feeling about it?
No, yeah, I'm super pumped. I'm with you. I was dedicated to watching these shows. I watched everything up until about the point that you said you kind of fell off. Yeah. I feel like I was like getting out of college at that point. I don't know. I'm doing the young thing that pisses everybody off, but I was kind of getting into the working world, and I really at the time was starting like, getting jobs and stuff.
Yeah, like life happened. Absolutely.
Life just kind of took over.
It happens.
And I just wasn't able to watch as much TV as I would have liked to. I also didn't have a DVR that I could rely on at my parents' house anymore. So that helped me keep up with a lot of it, because I could kind of, even if I didn't watch it week to week, I could kind of store them and kind of catch up on them as they went, stuff like that. So just kind of living out on my own for the first time. and having a job and all that kind of stuff, I kind of fell off the latter seasons of certain shows. So, but yeah, I'm like you said, I'm falling in love with it all over again, and I'm remembering why this was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
Throughout this time period. So definitely looking forward. I think I just looked at it. We only have 4 more episodes to finish up season 1. I mean,
wow,
we have eight total episodes before.
Damn,
4 pod episodes. So
that's cool.
So we're getting closer to the end
we're
of
cruising along.
season 1 than we may have thought coming into this. But I definitely wanted to ask that before we got out of here. But anything you would like to plug before we officially sign off?
Well, please listen to everything that we do here on the Backbone Wrestling Network, Backbone Movie Network, Backbone Cooking Network, Backbone Radio Network, everything that we have. You can also check me. You can see me on YouTube. Well, first of all, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can listen to all of our podcasts on YouTube. So if you're one of those people that has like YouTube Premium, or you just like to chill and listen to YouTube all day long as opposed to Podbean or wherever else you're hearing us, you can hear us on YouTube, and also on YouTube you can see me cook in my small kitchen. Can Keithie Take the Heat? And that's a show everybody seems to enjoy. I'm gonna have some interesting recipes coming up in the next couple of months, so please check that out. You can also hear me or see me interview some independent wrestlers on Take Me Home Keithie Rhodes, or as it's really called, Take It Easy with Keithie. So just check us out, and then of course listen to me and my BFF Petey Winston on GFA Live as we talk on our own feed. We're currently working our way through. We're getting ready to get up to Survivor Series 1990. So we're talking about. It's so funny. I had this crazy realization the other day that the reason why they had the grand finale match was because that's the promoted main event, so that they didn't have to take away the spotlight from Warrior by making Hogan's match be the main event. So I figured. I said, oh, because Warrior's the champ, and they don't want to have the champ be the sub-main event because Hogan's obviously the top guy. So they do the match of survival, and that's the reason why that's the main event. And I went, oh, okay. But check us out there. And I should mention Exposition on the Jenny Position. That's on the North South Connection Podcast Network, because I do usually join Jim and Jenny and Tim on that. Where we're going through the X-Men, the animated series, and with X-Men 97 season 2 coming out, we're going to be watching that and reviewing that as well. So, and that's going to do it for me.
Yeah, we might need to do a little bit of a crossover situation with that. We'll
Absolutely.
see what we can get into.
And
yes, the next
comics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the next episode of that is going to be a hell of a one, because I'm pretty sure the next episode is X-Men Origins Wolverine. So,
yes, it is.
I may have to join that one just to see.
That's our own. The year we fear.
That might be why it hadn't come out in a while. No, I'm just playing. But I might have to join that one just to listen to Tim go insane. But yeah, like Keith said, just listen to everything here on the Backbone. Everybody's doing some really awesome stuff, carrying me to some really awesome shows. I may have even recently gotten pretty hammered on a pod.
Yes, you did.
And gone completely insane. So I was asked to do so. I was asked to drink while we were recording, and I obliged. So, and it didn't go well for me, I guess, or did, depending on how you feel about it, I guess. But just definitely check out everything we got going on here, and we appreciate you for listening. And hopefully, we did not fail this network.